hit the record button so we can put it out for everybody. We're starting or finishing actually Micah tonight, chapter 7, Israel's confession and comfort. All through this book, Micah had been, first of all, he warned Israel and Judah about the coming judgment if they didn't turn back. Then he gave them some hope on what God would do if they came back to him. Now, in this particular one, he just reinforces it in chapter 7. And we'll just start off, read verse 1 through 4 here. Woe is me, for I am as when they had gathered the summer fruits, as the great gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among them. They all lie in wait for blood. There we are. I'm going to turn that off where I have to admit everybody too, so. Sorry, get back, start at verse 2 again. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net, that they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince asketh, and the judge asketh for a reward, and the great man, he uttereth his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. The best of them is as a briar. The most upright is sharper than a thorn hedge. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be our perplexity. Okay. It all sounds pretty bad, but it's really, it's good news. What he's telling them, that all these things that's come unto me, because they were this sinful nation that Micah has talked to, they, if they confess, actually Micah is confessing for the people, God's people, and they need to understand why they're in this case to begin with, because when they came out of, or they're getting ready to go into where they're captured by other people, they're losing their kingdom. They're going to be losing everything if they don't tell everything about it. June's trying it now, so. But they were talking about they have no cluster to eat, no first ripe fruits. We talked about earlier that they had already came in and that the secondary fruit crop had come on, and there wasn't any rain for it. There wasn't anything for that. So they're basically impoverished. They don't have anything. They don't, have anything to eat. And because of that, that's relating them to their heart nature, their nature of their soul. They have nothing to eat for their soul. They're going back in, and they're going because of their idolatry and what they're doing. They're not serving God. So it says the punishment comes now shall be their perplexity. When the sinner is immersed in sin and feeling successful, they feel like there is no price to pay for their sin. Sometimes people say, okay, I got away with it, I don't worry about it. That they have to, they can get away with anything that they want to. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry.
No, I was putting I was putting an O instead of a 0.
Yeah, that I don't like passwords just like that. So
I need to have a line through the O to make it a
that's
0.
right. That's right.
Okay. Hi. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. We just gotten started a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Says the confidence of the sinner will be turned to perplexity, where they'd gotten away with a lot of things before. Okay, they're not going to get away with it now. God's calling them to their punishment. I mean, basically, verse 5.
I think of the world today, and a few years ago, the age thing,
Right.
and now it came up, but man didn't change. They just worked on it, and God, they got it now. This virus, it seems like we just one right after another. But maybe like when we was bombed back in, and all the people were killed on September 11th, and how that man everybody was praying, and then after a little while, it's business as usual.
Yeah, it just goes back to normal, and it to me. I mean, I know. I guess as you get older, your timing goes off or something, but it seems just like it wasn't very long ago that happened, and it seems like so quickly they turned from everybody was calling on God to now nobody wants to call on God. I mean, it's just amazing how quickly that changes. So. Verse 5 says, "Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide."
I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry, I have to read towards it.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I may have to put my microphone back on so you can hear me. I turned my head.
Yeah.
Right in front of me. Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in bosom. For the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Therefore, I will look unto the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God is near. So where before they could kind of rely upon one another, now they can't. They can't rely upon anybody. Everybody's out for themselves, basically. Right. They want to do what they can do. They want to take care of whatever they can take care of, and just, it doesn't matter who it is. They'll turn in their neighbor. We're seeing kind of some of that now. You see somebody, calling people out because they're not wearing a mask. I know it's, sounds like it would be easy to do. Some people don't want to wear a mask. I get that. Stay home. You're not going
right.
to do
Well, I saw on the news where a man's dad's dog started fighting rough with his daughter and the 2 dogs, and he shot the 2 dogs. And then when the dad came home, he pulled his rifle out on his son and shot his son in the torso, and his son shot his dad in the neck, and they both died.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, wow. And that's what I was thinking of.
Over just a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, I
just heard on the news, the radio, that somewhere back east, this lady, his wife got COVID, but she was making masks and stuff, and then he gave her COVID. She went to sleep. He shot and killed her, and then he killed himself.
People are losing hope. I mean, they are. They just don't have any hope at all, it seems like. So it does say here, therefore, I will look to the Lord. So after all this, in this sin immersed culture, there are a few people to give confidence or compassion. We don't. I mean, a lot of people are turning to psychologists and things like that. Well, I don't really think that's going to help a lot. I mean, yeah, they can help some, but for the most part,
Temporarily.
for the most part, it's a hole in their heart that they got to fill with God.
Right.
That's what they need to do, and then that will help. Said this is a bad thing because people should be honorable and trustworthy enough so that we can find confidence and compassion from them. You don't see that today. I mean, people are rude. They're, on the social media, you just don't want to get involved anymore.
Right.
You may read, even if you like something, sometimes that sets people off, it's like, why in the world are you liking them for?
Nobody trusts one another at all.
Yeah, they don't at all. Said, nevertheless, God can use this as a good thing because it forces people to put trust in the only one who can never let them down. That's good, but people's got to get there first. If they don't know about God, that's the big thing. Verse 8, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be light unto me. I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now she will be trodden down in the mire of the street. We talked about all through this where Micah was jumping on to the people of Israel because the rich people or the ones that well-to-do or weren't bad off, I'll say it that way, they weren't all rich, but if they weren't that bad off, they were taking advantage of the poor people. And we see that today. There's lots of people, getting taken advantage of themselves and taking advantage of other people. Says Micah speaks for those brought low by personal sin and the sin of the community. In their humble place, he warns the enemies not to rejoice over this condition. Says, because when I fall, I will rise, and when I sit in darkness, the Lord will be a light to me. Speaking for the sinful people, Micah manfully takes responsibility for their sin. Okay, he is pleading for them, as many of the prophets had done through there. The idea is, I know that I have sinned, and so I will accept my correction. Micah knows that God's people will stay in their low place until he pleads my case and executes judgment for me. And Micah knows this because he's seen and read several of the scriptures before. And they know what the prophets had said before, that if they will humble themselves, if they will look to God, then God will, look at their request and grant their request. Says there's a difference between remorse and penance.
Right.
Many people know, I feel bad because you caught me doing something, but they don't feel bad that they did it. In remorse, a man is sorry for himself. He mourns over his sin because it has brought suffering on him. In penance, he is grieved by the wrong sin is done to God. He yields his personal suffering in the confidence that by it, God is setting him free from his sin.
It's like Paul said, godly sin, godly sorrow, or and then worldly sin.
Verse 11 says, in the day that thy walls are to be built, in that day shall the decree be far removed. In that day also he shall come even to thee from Assyria, and from the fortified cities, and from the fortress, even to the river, and from sea to sea, and from mountain to mountain. Notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doings. When the time comes for Israel's restoration, God's going to send out a call far and wide to gather and restore his people. Now, that happened a little bit back in those times. It's happening a lot more now. We see that the little nation of Israel has, I think I'd have to go back and look now, I think it's 7 or 10 million people now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in that little land that's no bigger hardly than the state of New Jersey, I think it is. It's just, people upon people there, but they want more people want to be there, sounds like. When God gathers, I read that. Verse 14, feed thy people with the rod and the flock of thine heritage, which dwells solitarily in the wood in the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead as in the days of old, according to the days of the coming out of the land of Egypt, will I show unto him marvelous things. He's promising them, if they will be true to him, that he will do as he did back in the days when they were, with the tribes, the 12 tribes, when they came out, when Moses led them out of Egypt. He will lead them, and he did, back from Jerusalem, from Assyria, or Assyria, the Babylonian captivity. And even after that, the thousands of years after that, now he's leading them back to their own country. Now, a lot of the, from what I've read, a lot of the people, the Jewish people, they're Jewish. They're not really religious Jewish. It's kind of like us, I think. There's a lot of people who call themselves Christians, but they don't really, because they're, quote, a Christian nation, I guess.
Right.
But they really don't adhere to the way a Christ follower would. I'd say it that way. It says, after the people are brought back to the place they belong, they are cared for by the Lord, and the Lord shepherds them and feeds them. There was a time when God's people enjoyed this. Oh, here's my kitty. Enjoyed this. I can't read.
You can't, his cats and.
Yeah, he's in front of them.
Oh,
It don't quite go
I
low
can't
enough
look
to
for
see.
nothing.
There's his tail. That's what they said. I saw one deal on Facebook. They said a meeting, company meeting, a Zoom meeting. That's what it was. And the guy was sitting there and the cat was taped to the wall.
Ooh, that's
Oh,
funny.
me.
Yeah.
He's okay. Oh, here he comes. He took off. She's calling him. Said the wonders come out of the close relationship with the shepherd. As they get back and closer to God, that I'm saying that the people in Israel, a lot of them are, I don't know if I think they're religious. I mean, there's a lot of religious people. I'm not saying all of them aren't, but there's a lot of secular Jewish people now, just like there are a lot of secular Christians, I think. So we have to, they will hopefully reach that point where they will understand and realize that God is their Savior, and he is the one that they need to go back to. Let's see, verse 16. The nations shall see and be confounded at all their might. They shall lay their hands upon their mouth. Their ears shall be deaf. They shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out of their holes like worms of the earth. They shall be afraid of the Lord our God and shall fear because of thee. If a person doesn't have a good case of fearfulness, not to be scared of God, but to hold him as holy. I think that has to be part of it, that we have to be afraid of God because he is omnipotent. He's ever there. The priests, to me, every time that they would enter in to trim the lamps or do anything like that, they had to be clean before they went into the temple part at all. And then the whole high priest, when he went into the holiest of holies, nobody could go in after him, so they had to tie a rope around him, around his foot or waist or something, so if he fell over, they could drag him out. But even stepping on that ground, it had to be, and it's not that people are scared, but that they rever him, that he has the power and he can, it's like the king. he can off with your head, in just a matter of minutes. He's not that way, but he has that authority. He has that power. Let's see, verse 18. Who is a God like unto thee, that pardoneth iniquity and passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. He will turn again. He will have compassion upon us. He will subdue our iniquities, and thou wilt cast all their sins into the depths of the sea. Thou wilt perform the truth to Jacob and the mercy to Abraham, which thou hast sworn unto our fathers from the days of old. Says in the restoration, in the pardoning of sin, Micah sees that God's forgiveness is so great, it can't even be compared to what often passes as our forgiveness, or forgiveness from among men. The writer Boyce says it's a theme verse and appropriately ends the book, because Micah, the name of Micah, means who is like Yahweh. And that is what the word says in the King James Version, who is like God. Why does God have such great mercy and forgiveness? The reasons are in him, not in his people. It's because he delights in mercy. He wants to give us that mercy. He wants us to come to him. But so many times, we don't give him that ability to come to us. We don't come to him. So,
it's just like, Christmas has just passed, and my birthday came up and all that kind of stuff. And when my kids, you almost expect them to do something on holidays, or, people to do something on holidays, but it's so much, it means so much more when people just do something out of the goodness of their heart.
Right. Yeah, it means a lot more. It means quite a bit, that they're not expecting anything in return or anything like that. So it says, if God is merciful to those who sin against him, do we have any justification for not showing mercy to those who sin against us? Pretty well not. No. Never say I won't forgive. You will seal your own condemnation when you do. And if you forgive not your brother his trespasses, neither will your Heavenly Father forgive you. You have chosen your own destruction when you shut the door against your child or against your neighbor and say, I will treasure up that enmity as long as I live. I'll tell you, sirs, your offerings at God's altars, are an abomination to him until you have forgiven everyone your fellow his trespasses. And that's Charles Spurgeon. Well, that's all I had for this evening. Anybody have any questions or any comments? Or
No.
nope. I think the next book is Nahum. I don't think we studied it. I'll have to go back and look if I got it on my charts, but I don't think I do. So we'll probably start, and I'll try to get that this week to Brother Epperson's.
Sometime this next month, we're going to start trying to have service, but we'll have to follow the guidelines of mask and all that kind of stuff. Just pray about it. Okay? I don't want.
How's everybody doing?
Okay.
Iris, Bertha,
they're all doing fine.
Louise.
I talked to them all, text them and different things, and so far, getting the only one that didn't get well, there's Brother Bridgman. All the rest of Jerry, man, he didn't get it, and he was with his dad and stuff. So it's man, never before have I seen anything like this.
Now remember, Brother Wayne still, I guess he had to go in the hospital.
Oh, yes, Sister Pat Fisher.
Yeah.
Definitely needs these prayers. She got shingles on her on her head, on her ears, and it's caused them. She's what do you call that? So, palsy.
Bell's palsy. Yeah.
Bell's palsy is one of sometimes a side effect of shingles, and it looks like she might have that. So she's really in the rough.
Oh,
So remember her.
Then I saw that the Clemens, both of them have COVID. Brother and sister
Wow.
Clemens. So
now, what's going on with Brother Pence?
he has
He's got
COVID.
COVID.
Oh, he
He's
has
in the
COVID.
Yeah, he's in the hospital.
Yesterday, or was it yesterday or day before, brother?
I think it's the day before. I mean, it's right after you asked me Sunday, and then I got home Sunday evening, and I said I saw that he's getting better, and then they said, well, they're taking him to the hospital. I'm like, oh, great.
Well, that's what happens. It just
It turns real quick on you.
we gotta pray for Adana.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Also, Sister Gladys Edwards, I mentioned a while ago. It's Mike and Lisa Edwards.
Mike Edwards.
She's a Snyder. Okay.
He's a Snyder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they took her to the hospital, and Mike has it, her son, and they called him today, I think it was, and said that it doesn't look good at all.
Oh, no.
Okay.
But they're giving her as much oxygen as possible, and she's in her early 90s. So I mean, it's but I don't care. You're never ready for that. I mean, it's
No.
Yeah.
we pray
No.
for people sometimes that are sick, but when it happens, it's so final. There's no recourse.
Yeah, how's Jerry doing? Bridgman. Yeah.
Fine.
Well, I mean, I know he's doing fine, but I mean, because him and his dad, I mean, they live together and stuff. I was just
Yeah, talked to him. I haven't talked to him this week, but we talked a couple of times last week, and he's getting over it. They're gonna, I think, sell the house, and he's looking for an apartment, and
Okay.
trying to find one over by the church. So
okay. Well, if you talk to Louise, tell her she can do contactless delivery on peanut brittle if she wants to.
right.
We'll take it. We don't care if it's homemade or not.
Yeah.
We don't want to hurt her feelings and tell her we don't want her peanut brittle.
Yeah, she's had her hands full. I was over there, I think, last week. I had to take a check over there. So
Uh-huh.
Ask him what he wanted with me.
Mom said you called her the other day.
You didn't have a date on one of your checks, so I just
Oh.
put the date that it
Well,
was. I just
Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew about it. It was the last check.
I write them ahead of time,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I usually write the date in when I mail it. And
Well, I've been
You
since
didn't forget, did you, sis?
looking,
I've been-
Nobody ever forgets at our age, do they?
Nobody ever forgets at your age, do you? Do you?
I said our age.
I said her age. I was trying to save you. Or
yeah,
get you in trouble. I don't know.
that's my age too. I can tell you that.
Oh.
I'll walk you.
thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Good to
I
see
wanna,
you guys.
want to keep doing it if you can. So
Is Letha here?
yeah, she's on. It looks like Michelle. They usually use a laptop and they all listen.
Oh.
They're up there. I can see her. Says Michelle, but I mean,
Oh, I don't see her.
it's a screen is all it is. Just says Michelle on it. So
Okay.
Brother Bill Adams,
Well,
yeah,
hi
Brother Bill's
everybody.
on there.
How's he doing?
you doing okay?
Good.
Okay. Well, that's
All
good.
right. Talk to y'all next week, I guess.
All right. Tell your wife and you tell your wife hi for us and we love them.
Okay, she listens. Okay.
Okay.
All
Bye-bye.
right. See y'all later.